Okay, haven't done a repair video or review or anything like that in a while, so I figured I'd take a look at this Paul Reed Smith SE Custom 24. I took the truss rod cover off just so I could get to the truss rod, but it's an SE, it's left-handed. It's actually the second one that I've had. I had a blue one, didn't really like that one. Saw the green finish, really loved that, and decided to give it another try. And when I got the guitar, it played terribly. And mainly that was just because of the way that it was set up. And that's really why I didn't like the blue one. So I'm just going to go through, I'm not going to tell you specifically how to set the guitar up in terms of measurements or anything like that, but I'll tell you a little bit about how I do it and what I needed to do to this in order to make it play better. First thing, this has a 6-screw traditional tremolo mount. These screws were all over the place in terms of the height, and they're actually at the top of the screw. There's a little bit of a carve-in so that it almost creates like a blade edge that the tremolo base sits on. And if these screws aren't lined up, then it's not sitting on that right. It's getting too much pressure in one place, not in the other. You don't get nice smooth action. You get kind of like grady, nasty stuff. So first thing that I did. Second thing, the signal was cutting out, and I figured out that's because the input jack was loose and there was actually a loose solder connection in there, so I ended up having to resolder the input jack. On a guitar that you're paying $900 for, US, you shouldn't have to do that, but hey, you know, it happens. So basically this is a dual humbucker configuration. It has coil tap switches, so you can switch it from a humbucker to a single coil for the bridge pickup and the neck pickup. I like a single coil sound for the neck pickup, so I've got that engaged. So up is just the single coil. I can't remember which of these two coils it is. I believe it's the outer coil. So that's the up for me is this direction because I'm left-handed. So that's the single coil tap. This is humbucker, and then you have one volume, one tone, and then you have your pickup selection switch. It's not like a Les Paul where it goes up, down. It goes back, forth. So it goes to the back of the guitar for humbucker, to the front for the neck. Okay, enough of that. So the strings that came on here from the factory were terrible. I put 8s on here. It's a Dunlop set, so these are extremely light gauge strings. These go from 8 to 40. So again, light gauge necessitated resetting the entire guitar, a whole new setup. So the first thing that you do is you take the rear tremolo cavity cover off. If you don't know how to do that, there it is, 6 screws. Take that off and block the tremolo. So blocking the tremolo means putting something in between the block that goes down and has the claw springs attached to it and the body of the guitar. So again, I have the back on, and I didn't want to go to the trouble to take it off again just to show that, because most people know what blocking is. But basically, you're going to make sure that that's in the position that it needs to be in so that it's pretty much flush with the body. You see how the base right there is pretty much exactly parallel with the body. That's what you want, so that you have a little bit of pull up, a little bit of push down, but you can basically get your tremolo, you know, a little bit of bend action by going back and forth. So you want to be able to wiggle it, but you don't want it to bottom out on the body. So block the tremolo, cut all the strings. The first thing that I did was loosen the truss rod, and I did that because I have really light gauge strings on here. So if I have heavy gauge strings and I leave the truss rod where it is, it's going to create more back bow. I don't want more back bow. I'll clean that up after I put the new strings on. New strings on. First thing that I do is adjust the truss rod. Get the neck as straight as I can. Step 1. Step 2, intonation. So coming over here, moving the saddles back and forth to where they need to be, so that at the 12th fret, which is this bird here, at the 12th fret, you're getting the same note as an open note. Intonation is a real simple thing to do. Don't be scared. Plenty of videos on how to do that. Now, the problem with these light gauge strings is the string action was about that high off of the fretboard. So when you're fretting on the 12th fret, you're actually bending the string out of pitch because it's going down so far. So the next thing that I had to do, again, neck straight, basically intonated, is come down here and on the neck on the headstock side, file down the neck nut so that the strings were sitting lower. Really, I like really low action and really light strings. So these are just barely clearing that first fret. And then over on this side, bringing these down so that I basically don't get any buzz along the entire fretboard. They are down as far as they can go, start getting buzzy, then I pull them up just a little bit, probably a quarter turn up, so that it raises them off of the guitar body. So what you get there is you get a very flat string across the guitar neck, and it's basically the same tension on any fret. Joe Satriani actually mentioned that once, and I gave it a try, and I just really liked it after that. Like, you know, you don't have an increase in height of the string as it goes down the neck. You have very consistent spacing, and you have a very flat neck. And then what you want to do, the last step in terms of getting the strings in the right position, is you'll put a little bit of neck relief, a little bit of bow in by loosening the truss rod, and then make sure that, you know, it's still as straight as it can be, but you're just giving it a little bit of extra clearance on these frets, basically on everything from 2 to about 12, because that's really where your truss rod activity is most impacted, is those first 12 or so frets. This is a single action truss rod, so it's either tight or loose. A double action truss rod, if you go one direction, it actually moves the neck that way. If you go the other direction, after a while, it'll move the neck the other direction. So yeah, that's basically it. And then after all of that, I came back and I intonated it one more time, and it was interesting how far off the saddles were in spite of the fact that I had already done the intonation, because again, the action was so high that it was on the 12th fret, it was basically fretting sharp. Instead of being an E on the low E, you know, it was like probably a good half a cent off. And I use my Eventide H9 tuner function, which is pretty exact. I mean, it's basically Peterson level exact. So so that was that. And again, after having this guitar for a while, I figured I'd just talk for a second about it. What I like, what I don't like. Obviously dislikes, quality control in the manufacturing. I thought that was just shoddy. You know, you've got an input jack that doesn't work. The other thing, and this is just me, first of all, likes, man, the top is just gorgeous, and it looks like it's one of those nice deep maples that just looks like it's three-dimensional. Good color, nice thick maple cap on top of the mahogany, nice quarter sawn maple neck. You know, it's a 24 custom, so you really kind of do get the regular PRS treatment on that. But what you don't get is a single piece body. This is actually a Franken body that's made up of 3 different pieces, and it's not even equidistant in terms of where the neck is in that middle piece. That middle piece is really offset, so the neck basically joins way down on the bottom. Then you've got a wing coming off of here. Then you've got a big chunk of that middle that goes up onto that horn and up onto the upper part of the body. Again, I'm left-handed. And then you've got that final piece, that horn, the wing or whatever on the other side. But good God, what a nice piece of figured wood that is right there. Just gorgeous wood. I mean, really nice stuff, really dense. This guitar weighs a ton. That's the only other complaint. My other main guitar is an Ibanez RG, and it's just super light. So heavy guitar, but tons of tone. The pickups are actually pretty good in terms of, you know, in terms of power. They're not underpowered. They're not overly powered and gritty and nasty sounding. So they're about a PAF Pro, you know, about that level of gain. I'm not sure what the impedance is on them. I mean, sorry, what the resistance is on them, but you know, I'll measure that at some point and see how they measure up against other guitars that I have. But anyway, that's the PRS SE24 Custom.